March sunlight filtered through lace curtains touching every polished surface of my dining room. I'd spent the morning arranging hydrangeas, baking lemon scones, and reminding myself that peace was a choice. Jason and Lacey were coming for brunch, and my son had said this one would be special. At 62, I had learned to expect less from surprises. Still, I set out the china Tom and I used every anniversary. When the doorbell rang, laughter and perfume entered before they did. Lacey's voice filled the room bright and rehearsed. She held an envelope against her chest. Jason's eyes were tired, hopeful, the way they used to look before exams. "Mom, we have news," he said. Lacey unfolded an ultrasound printout like a winning lottery ticket. "You're going to be a grandmother," she said, her words trembling just enough to sound real. For a heartbeat, everything stopped, the coffee steam, the ticking clock, even the ache behind my ribs. Then I smiled because that's what women like me do. My hands clapped softly. My lips formed congratulations, and my mind went to work. The image was dated February 14, 2021. I didn't need my old calculator to know that math didn't fit. Still, I smiled wider. Jason lifted the photo for me to hold. "Mom, this time, she really needs you to believe." His words slid through me like thin ice cracking. I nodded because faith is the last currency mothers trade. Lacey slipped her hand over mine, her nails perfect, the smell of jasmine lotion coating every inch of the moment. "You'll help with the nursery fund, right?" she asked. Her eyes didn't blink when she said fund. My chest tightened. I remembered the years Tom spent calling new debt investments. I folded the picture and placed it beside my plate. "Of course," I said softly. "Every child deserves a safe start." Jason exhaled relief running through him like warm air. He didn't notice that my gaze lingered on the ultrasound's barcode. My smile held steady for the camera flashes. Lacey leaned in for a photo, her face inches from mine, her diamond catching the light like it needed witnesses. The laughter sounded full but empty at the edges, like a show that had forgotten its ending. When they left, I stood at the sink washing a single plate over and over until the water ran cold. The ultrasound rested on the counter, glistening under late afternoon sun. I opened my laptop and searched the clinic printed at the bottom. The website said permanently closed since 2022. I stared until the letters blurred. For a moment, I thought about calling Jason, but I knew his answer would be love wrapped in denial. I had seen that pattern too many times. I placed the ultrasound into my ledger book between tax receipts and old photographs, labeling it verification pending. My reflection in the kitchen window looked calm, but inside me, a quiet calculation began. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, not to ruin what might still be true. Yet the smell of jasmine clung to my sleeve long after they left, and the house felt smaller, as if it already knew the truth I refused to name. That night, I wrote one line in my notebook, "Numbers never lie, people do." Then I turned off the lights and listened to the refrigerator hum steady and honest, the only thing in the house still telling the truth. Have you ever been forced to smile through a lie? Tell me in the comments. I wake before the sun most mornings. Old habits refuse retirement, so the coffee brews at 7 sharp, its rhythm steady as the ticking clock on the wall. My kitchen smells of cinnamon and spreadsheets. Even after leaving the accounting firm 2 years ago, I still keep the community ledgers balanced for the church. Numbers calm me. They never twist themselves into stories, never cry or charm. By 8:30, my phone buzzes with a message from Lacey. The tone is cheerful, decorated with pastel emojis. She writes that the baby is already the size of a lime, and that she and Jason found the perfect nursery furniture. She mentions a small loan, $8,000, just until Jason's bonus clears. She adds a heart and a smile and signs it, "Love you, Mom." I stare at the message until the screen dims. Jason has always been generous, but not careless. Something about the phrasing sticks. A loan, not a gift. A fund, not a purchase. My fingers hover over the keyboard before I decide to log in to the joint account I opened for Jason when he graduated college. The password still works. The list of transactions unfolds like a quiet confession. One entry catches my eye. A transfer for $8,000 to a new account labeled L. Briggs Baby Fund. The name is neat, almost innocent except for the absence of Jason's name. I print the record and slide it between two ledger pages. Tom's voice comes back to me from years ago, gentle but certain. Always verify, never assume. I pour more coffee and wonder when lies started sounding like love. At noon, I drive to the grocery store, passing the old brick building that used to be Dr. Harper's OB/GYN clinic. The windows are papered over the parking lot, cracked and overgrown. A for-lease sign flaps in the wind. The same clinic name sits at the bottom of the ultrasound print, still resting in my drawer. I park for a minute, watching the light move across the faded letters. The world is full of small closures we never get notice of. I call the number on the sign out of curiosity. A recorded voice says, "The clinic closed in 2022. I end the call before the tone finishes. By the time I reach home, Jason's car is already in my driveway. He sits at the table, tie loosened, looking both grateful and uneasy. "Lacey told me she texted you," he says, running a hand through his hair. "We're short on time before the nursery delivery." His tone is practiced. "She was hoping you might help co-sign the loan, just in case the credit union asks for family verification." My heartbeat slows but feels heavier. Just in case I repeat, "You already transferred $8,000. Why would they need more?" He sighs. "Mom, you know how it is. Expenses keep appearing. She's emotional. I want her calm." He reaches for my hand. It's just paperwork. I study his face, still the same boy who once hid his broken watch behind his back. "Jason," I say quietly, "does she have an appointment schedule? Hospital registration? Anything official?" His eyes flicker. "Of course she does. I'll ask her to send it." He forces a laugh that ends too soon. When he leaves the kitchen, air feels colder. I sit with the ledger open and list what I know: a closed clinic, a new bank account, and a son trapped between guilt and hope. I add a fourth line, one I can't yet prove Lacey knows exactly how much I love my son and how much I would pay to protect his happiness. The phone rings again at 6. It's Lacey this time, her voice syrup sweet. "Mom, thank you for always believing in us," she says. The baby already kicks when Jason reads aloud. We're so blessed. I can hear soft music behind her, maybe a restaurant or a car. "I'll stop by tomorrow," I reply, my tone level. "Bring me the ultrasound photos again. I want to frame one." There's a pause, small but sharp. "Of course," she says, and hangs up. After dinner, I open the drawer with the ultrasound. I hold it under the lamp and study the faint barcode again, tracing the numbers with my fingertip. The date still reads 2021, steady and defiant. I wonder if she noticed that detail or if she assumed age makes blindness convenient. Outside, a neighbor's wind chime breaks the silence. I think about Tom, about the nights he promised everything was fine while bills piled beneath the mattress. Love had made me patient back then. Age has made me precise. I pull a clean page from my notebook and start a new entry: nursery loan, $8,000 verification pending. Under it, I write a question: when does belief become permission? The pen hesitates, then adds the answer: when you stop checking the numbers. I close the book and sit back, listening to the soft hum of the refrigerator again, the same honest sound that carried through the house after every lie. Numbers never lie. People do. Sundays come like clockwork. I cook more than necessary: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, lemon pie, the kind of food that smells like normal life. Jason and Lacey arrive after church, bringing noise and perfume. I pour iced tea and pretend not to notice how often she checks her phone. Lacey talks about morning sickness, about strange cravings that require expensive imported snacks. She pushes her plate away dramatically and says the smell of gravy makes her dizzy. Jason rubs her shoulder like she is made of glass. I smile because that is my weekly tax for peace. After they leave, I collect the untouched plates, scrape food into the bin, and write one line in my notebook: the smile tax paid in full. By mid-April, Lacey's posts start filling my phone. Pictures of pastel onesies, captions about blessings and miracles. Her followers comment with hearts and prayer emojis. She thanks them all as if she is running a campaign. I scroll until I reach a photo of her hand on her flat stomach, the caption reading, 17 weeks strong. I check the calendar. 17 weeks from March doesn't land in April. My breath catches not from anger but from precision. Numbers that don't match always tell stories you wish they wouldn't. I decide to keep my mouth shut and my eyes open. In early May, Jason insists on taking us all to dinner to celebrate a new milestone. The restaurant is a small Italian place downtown, one we used to visit when he was in high school. Lacey wears a fitted dress, her hair shining like she's ready for a magazine cover. When the waiter asks for drinks, she smiles and orders a glass of red wine. Jason hesitates. "You sure, honey?" She laughs. "It's non-alcoholic, it's fine." The waiter nods, but when he pours, I see the label, Merlot Reserve. She sips and meets my eyes with a smile too deliberate. The rest of the meal passes in polite conversation. Jason tells stories about his office. I ask nothing. The silence between the three of us hums louder than the piano in the corner. Back home that night, I open my laptop and log into my online banking. The list of recent transactions looks familiar. Lacey has used my joint credit line again this time for 2 charges each, just under 1,000 labeled boutique maternity wear. I download every statement and save them in a folder named April Expenses. I print a hard copy because paper never lies. The next morning, Jason calls on his way to work. He sounds cheerful, almost rehearsed. Mom Lacey's friend is organizing a miracle maternity retreat in Florida. It's supposed to be relaxing good for the baby. The deposit is $5,000. I was thinking we could use the same fund. His voice dips on the word fund as if he knows I'm already noting the number. I keep my tone light. $5,000 is generous for peace of mind. What does this retreat include? He laughs softly. Spa treatments, guided meditation, prenatal classes. It's her dream mom. After what she's been through, she deserves it. I glance at the ultrasound photo still on my desk, its date unchanged. Of course, I say every dream needs good accounting. He doesn't catch the meaning. We hang up and I add a new line to my ledger. Miracle retreat, $5,000. That evening, I scroll through Lacey's social media again. She posts a picture of palm trees and a caption about healing energy. She tags a luxury resort, the same one my accounting instincts recognize from the transaction code. The photo shows 2 wine glasses and the edge of a man's watch that doesn't belong to Jason. I don't screenshot it. I don't need to. I have trained myself to remember details down to the decimal. A week later, Jason visits alone, bringing me groceries and silence. He says Lacey is resting after her trip. I thank him, brew tea, and ask about doctor visits. He stares at his cup. She's switching clinics, he says. The new one has better equipment. His words sound like an alibi someone else wrote. I nod. Then I'll wait for the new photos. I want to start a scrapbook. He smiles weakly. When he leaves, I sit at my desk and pull the ledger close. Under the last entry, I write the totals: nursery loan, $8,000 retreat, $5,000 other charges, $5,000. Running total $18,000. Pregnancy still 0 proof. My pen presses so hard the ink bleeds through the page. Outside, the neighborhood lights flicker on one by one like witnesses refusing to speak. I close the notebook gently the way a person closes a door they plan to reopen later. I remind myself that faith is beautiful, but math is unforgiving. June heat comes early in Ohio. The air feels thick, even at dawn, pressing against the windows as I run the ceiling fan and sort through the latest stack of bank statements. A familiar line item stops me mid-sip of coffee. Spa Solara, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. $5,100 charged under the same routing as the so-called maternity retreat. The memo line reads, Couples Getaway Package. I stare at it long enough for the numbers to blur. Jason had said it was a wellness retreat. I dial the resort number printed on the statement, expecting a receptionist. A man answers, his voice warm and polite. I ask if they hosted a prenatal retreat in May. He hesitates. Ma'am, that was a romance package, beachfront villa, champagne on arrival. My fingers tighten around the phone. And the reservation name. He replies without pause. L. Briggs and guest. He spells it carefully, unaware that each letter lands like a nail. "Did the guest happen to be male?" I ask. "Yes, ma'am, Mr. Randall." They extended the stay 2 nights. I thank him, hang up, and sit in silence. The word champagne echoes until it loses shape. Later that afternoon, while trimming the hydrangeas, I hear my neighbor Martha calling from her porch. "Did you see Lacey's photos? She looks amazing for being pregnant." I force a smile. "Which ones?" Martha hands me her phone. The screen shows Lacey in a turquoise bikini, sunlight glinting off her sunglasses. The caption reads, "Finally free." The post has over 200 likes, each one a small betrayal. My pulse drums in my ears. That night, Jason stops by with takeout and tired eyes. "Work's been crazy," he says, pushing noodles around his plate. "Lacey's resting." I nod. "Did she enjoy the retreat?" He looks surprised. "How did you know about that?" "She posted photos," I say evenly. He shrugs. "She's trying to stay positive. The doctor said stress isn't good for her." I let the sentence hang. When he reaches for his drink, I notice his hands trembling. "Jason," I ask quietly, "have you borrowed money recently?" He freezes. "What do you mean? Someone mentioned you asked for help at work." He sighs defeated. "I borrowed $6,000 from a colleague. It was for hospital bills. Lacey said we had insurance delays." He shakes his head. "I'll pay it back once the bonus hits." I look at him, at the boy who once broke his arm climbing trees and cried not from pain but from guilt. "Jason, are you sure there were hospital bills?" His mouth opens, then closes. "Mom, please don't make this harder." I let him go with a hug that feels like goodbye. When he leaves, I take out my folder of receipts and begin aligning them by date. The pattern forms itself like a spreadsheet waiting to be balanced. May 10th, nursery furniture. May 12th, luxury retreat. May 18th, jewelry store charge for $2,000 labeled gift. June 2nd, ATM withdrawal. I add the numbers, the rhythm steadying my breath. The total edges close to 40,000. The figure stares back at me like a confession written in ink. The next morning, I visit the Dover Creek Bank downtown. The same marble floors, the same scent of polish, and behind the counter stands Dana, the teller I trained 15 years ago. She brightens when she sees me. "Mrs. Briggs, it's been ages." We exchange small talk until I slide my ID across the counter. "I'd like to review some withdrawals tied to my joint credit line." She types quickly, the screen reflecting in her glasses. "Looks like several cash withdrawals over the last 4 months, totaling $40,000, give or take." She lowers her voice. "Want me to print them?" I nod. As the printer hums, she leans closer. "Everything okay?" "Numbers never lie," I reply. She frowns softly but hands me the pages. Back home, I spread the documents across the dining table. The ledger receipts and photos line up like evidence waiting for a jury. Each entry feels heavier than paper. I open my laptop and create a new folder. The cursor blinks as if asking permission. I type "fake pregnancy audit." The words look absurd, too blunt for what they hold. Inside it, I save every file, every screenshot, every statement. The folder feels colder than any secret I have ever kept. By sunset, I sit on the porch, watching the horizon bruise purple. The cicadas sing indifferent to human deception. I whisper to the air $40,000, a son's trust, and a lie dressed as love. I close my eyes, letting the wind brush my face. Tomorrow, I will decide what to do with the truth. For now, I will let the evidence breathe. If you found someone using motherhood as a scam, would you stay quiet? Morning light filters through the blinds and lands on the papers still spread across the dining table. I sit with my coffee cooling beside me, tracing each column of numbers with the same patience I once used on church accounts. The hum of the refrigerator becomes my metronome. I tell myself that facts should always come before feelings. Yet every figure on the page feels like a bruise that will not fade. As I begin reconciling transactions, a memory pushes through sharp and unwanted. Years ago, before Tom died, he called the debts he hid good intentions. He said he was borrowing against the future for our family, that he would pay everything back when the next contract came through. I remember the night I found the unopened bills tucked inside his tool chest, the way the air left my body as if I had been punched. When he passed, I promised myself I would never mistake love for proof again. That vow sits in me like iron now. I open QuickBooks and start tracing the paths of every withdrawal connected to our shared account. Patterns emerge quickly. Multiple purchases under the name L. Briggs at different stores, all for baby items, nursery decor, and furnishings. One charge stands out, $7,800 from a company called Dream Haven Design. The receipt lists a full nursery, set, crib, rocking chair, dresser, wall art. I check the delivery address. It is our family home, not Jason's apartment. I frown, remembering that no truck ever came here. I print the receipt and add it to the growing pile beside me. The printer spits out the page with a sound that feels too loud for the quiet house. At lunch, I walk to Martha's porch. She is watering her plants, her hat wide and white, like the ones she wears every summer. Martha. I ask casually, "Did you see any deliveries at my house recently? Big boxes, maybe?" She thinks for a moment, then laughs softly. "No, but I did see Lacey posting online. She was selling some furniture, said she was downsizing before the baby." My stomach tightens. "Did she say where she got it?" Martha shrugs. "She mentioned it was custom real wood. Looked expensive." She lowers her voice. "Everything okay, Eleanor?" I smile, the reflex practiced. "Just sorting receipts. You know how accountants are." Back home, I open Facebook and type Lacey's name. Her page glows with posts of luxury pieces, the captions cheerful and vague. A photo shows the same rocking chair from the Dream Haven invoice sunlight catching its polished arms. The post says, "Available for pickup today, barely used." My hand trembles slightly as I scroll. Beneath it, a comment from a buyer reads, "Thank you. Lacey love it. Transaction complete." The date matches the day after the charge cleared. I close the page and breathe slowly. The air tastes of dust and disbelief. I print every screenshot, each one evidence that trust has turned into currency. When the printer stops, the pile of paper looks heavier than it should. I gather the sheets into a binder, labeling the spine Silent Ledger. The name feels right. This is no longer about anger, but about arithmetic. At dusk, I return to QuickBooks and trace the linked credit accounts. One line stops me. A new account under my name created last month with a balance of $3,000 already drawn. The application lists my address and social security number. My heart hammers once, then steadies. I call the bank's fraud line and listen to the automated options until a human voice answers. I ask if anyone else can authorize credit in my name. The agent checks and says the account was opened online, verified by an email connected to Lacey's address. I thank her, hang up, and stare at the wall. Silence spreads through the house like smoke. I open my notebook and write the facts: unauthorized credit furniture resale total losses to date, $47,800. I underline the number twice. Outside, thunder rolls far away. I think of Tom again, of the nights when I pretended not to see the red envelopes in the mail. Blind trust is its own kind of addiction. It asks you to believe kindness will fix math. I turn off the lights and carry the binder to my study. The fireproof safe sits against the wall, its surface cool to the touch. I place the binder inside along with printed statements and receipts, each page a quiet witness. When the door clicks shut, the sound feels final. I lock it, test the handle, then step back. The ledger will sleep until I decide it is time for truth to wake. Upstairs, I wash my face and catch my reflection in the mirror. My expression is calm, almost detached, the way a teacher looks at a student who has failed an easy test. In bed, I whisper into the dark, "Always verify, never assume." The storm outside begins to break rain, tapping the windows in measured rhythm. Somewhere inside that rhythm, I find resolve. Tomorrow, I will not just record the truth, I will use it. July arrives like a stage curtain lifting too soon. The The morning sun bounces off banners and ribbons as cars line both sides of Lacey's parents' driveway. Pink and blue balloons sway in the warm air, spelling Baby Briggs in glitter letters that catch the light like a promise. I park across the street, my bouquet of lilies trembling slightly in my hands. The house hums with laughter, the kind that fills every corner but leaves no warmth behind. Inside the living room is transformed into a pastel paradise. Tables are covered with cupcakes and party favors shaped like rattles. Someone has rented a chocolate fountain. I scan the crowd and spot Lacey in the center, radiant in a white sundress, her hand resting over a suspiciously round belly. From a distance, it looks convincing, but my eyes are trained for detail. The curve sits too high, the fabric too still. I force a smile when she waves. "Eleanor, you made it," she says, voice bright as frosting. "Of course," I reply. "Wouldn't miss such a special day." I hand her the flowers and notice how her fingers tremble slightly as she adjusts them. Jason beams beside her, proud and tired. His arm stays firm around her waist, a gesture of love that aches to watch. I reach into my bag and pull out my old camcorder, the one Tom gave me years ago. Thought I'd record a few moments for the scrapbook, I say casually. Lacey's smile tightens. "Oh, that's sweet," she murmurs. The guests gather in circles, passing plates and gossip. The air smells of sugar and perfume. I move quietly, filming details. The camera catches Lacey clinking glasses, raising a flute of champagne. Someone jokes about it, but she laughs it off, saying it's sparkling cider. My lens zooms in and I see bubbles rising too slow for anything non-alcoholic. I lower the camera and let the moment hang. When she walks past me, I speak softly. "Lacey, what hospital are you registered with? I'd like to send flowers when the baby comes." She blinks. "Oh, Mercy General," she says too quickly. I tilt my head. "The one downtown, I thought their maternity wing closed last year." For a heartbeat, silence swallows her smile. Then she laughs too loud. "Oh, right, I meant the other Mercy, near the lake." Her words stumble, her tone brittle. I simply nod and return to filming. Around the room, eyes begin to wander. When she sits to open gifts, her dress folds flat against her stomach. The illusion shifts. A few guests exchange looks, murmuring quietly. Martha leans over to me, whispering, "She looks tiny for 8 months, doesn't she?" I say nothing. The only sound is the rustle of tissue paper and the pop of another champagne cork. Jason kneels beside her, holding up a gift bag and kissing her temple. He looks at her with the kind of love that makes lies more cruel. My hand tightens on the camcorder. Part of me wants to stop this farce, to tear the pillow from beneath her dress and end it all. But another part, the accountant knows, patience earns interest. I wait until she stands to give her toast. Her glass catches the light, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm so grateful for everyone's love," she says. "This baby is already surrounded by so much family." I keep the camera steady, focusing on her midsection as she gestures. The fabric shifts just enough to reveal the edge of something square. The guests applaud. I press stop and lower the camera slowly. The party drifts on with laughter and photos. I help clear plates and stack cups, quiet among the noise. When I leave, the air outside feels cooler, cleaner. The street glows orange under the fading sun. My phone buzzes as I reach my car. It's a message from Mark, Jason's best friend since college. I haven't spoken to him in months. His text is short. "Your daughter-in-law is using you. Mrs. Briggs, check her Venmo." I stare at the screen, my pulse sharp in my throat. Another message follows, a screenshot of transactions. Lacey's profile shows payment after payment labeled refund each one, tied to my son's colleagues and neighbors. The amounts range from small to staggering. The captions sting: "Nursery donation, pregnancy fund, thank you, Mrs. Briggs." My name attached to her fraud. I lock the phone, place it face down on the passenger seat, and breathe through the quiet rage that fills the car. The lilies beside me have started to wilt, their scent sweet and heavy. I whisper into the silence, "Mercy General near the lake." The lie echoes soft and hollow. Tomorrow I will begin again, not with anger, but with arithmetic. The day after the baby shower, the sky feels too clean for what I'm about to do. Morning light spills over my desk as I open the folder marked Fake Pregnancy Audit. Every receipt, every screenshot sits in order, waiting for the final piece. I scroll back to the first photo Lacey had shown us months ago, the ultrasound she proudly waved at brunch. It still glows on my screen grayscale and blurred labeled March 2024. But something about it has always itched at my mind. The font, the timestamp, the alignment of the patient ID. I call Alan an old colleague from my accounting firm days. He used to handle IT audits and could read digital traces like fingerprints. Eleanor, he says, after the second ring, cheerful as always. Haven't heard from you since retirement. I need a favor, I tell him, keeping my voice calm. A small metadata review, just curiosity. He chuckles. Curiosity from you usually means someone's hiding something. I send him the file while stirring my coffee. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzes. Interesting, he says. This image isn't original. Metadata shows it was uploaded online in 2021. File name links to a Pinterest board called Baby Dreams Gallery. Whoever saved it just renamed it before printing. I feel a chill travel up my arms. So the scan isn't hers. Not unless she was pregnant 3 years ago, he replies. My heart sinks with confirmation, not surprise. I thank him and hang up. For a long minute, the house is completely still. Even the ticking clock feels muted as though it knows the truth, too. I open the county medical database, an old habit from my volunteer work at the senior center, and search the OB/GYN clinic name printed on the photo. The clinic closed in 2022 after a merger exactly as I remembered. No records, no patient named Lacey Briggs in any affiliated system. The lie stretches back like a rope, frayed and deliberate. At noon, Jason stops by to return a casserole dish. His face looks drawn, his shoulders tense. I set the dish aside. Jason, can we talk? He nods wary. I slide the ultrasound photo across the table. This image came from a Pinterest post in 2021. The clinic doesn't exist anymore. His jaw tightens. Mom, you've been digging again. I've been verifying, I reply. Numbers, dates, names, they don't line up. Why would she lie? He slams his hand against the counter, making the dish rattle. Because she's scared. Because you make her feel judged. Maybe she just wanted you to be proud. I study his face, the flicker of loyalty and exhaustion fighting inside him. Pride doesn't require deception, I say softly. You deserve honesty. He shakes his head. You always think you're right. Maybe this time you're wrong. His words sting more than I expect. He leaves without looking back, the door closing like a gavel. Later that evening, my phone lights up with Lacey's name. I answer, voice steady. Eleanor, she begins, breath sharp. I know you've been snooping around. You went too far. Too far as stealing $40,000, I reply. Her tone turns icy. You're just jealous. You can't stand that Jason finally chose someone younger, someone who gives him joy. You've been alone too long. It's made you cold. I let the words wash over me. I lost my husband, not my sense, I say. If you wanted help, you could have asked. But you turned deceit into a performance. She laughs bitterly. You think this is about money, you'll never understand love. You treat everything like a balance sheet. Because balance matters, I whisper, and lies never balance. She hangs up. The silence afterward feels thick, but I do not crumble. Instead, I open my ledger and begin drafting something new. I write at the top baby shower gift. Beneath it, I list every transaction, every fraudulent act, every forged signature. A gift of truth wrapped in arithmetic. I print the pages, binding them with a blue ribbon I found in the drawer, the same color as her party decorations. As the printer hums, I think of the phrase my husband once used during audits, evidence is love translated into logic. I slide the finished report into a manila envelope and place it on my desk. My house smells of lavender and ink, the scent of quiet war. I sit in the fading light reading the first line of the report again, Financial Reconciliation of the Briggs Family, July 2024. When I close the folder, my hands are steady. Tomorrow she will open her gift and the truth will unwrap itself. August heat presses against the windows like a warning, but my house feels cold inside. The envelope sits on the table, surrounded by folders, receipts, screenshots, and the camcorder memory card. Every piece of proof is sorted with the precision of habit color-coded, dated, cross-referenced. My handwriting is neat, but tight, like a fist disguised as formality. I call Amelia Grant, my late husband's attorney, a woman who used to attend our Christmas dinners and quote tax law like scripture. She answers on the second ring. "Eleanor, it's been years," she says warmly. "You sound like someone who already knows the answer and just needs it confirmed." You could say that I reply. "I think my daughter-in-law has been exploiting my finances under the guise of pregnancy. $40,000 so far, maybe more." A pause. Then her voice sharpens, all warmth replaced by steel. "Bring everything you have. And Eleanor, don't tell anyone where you're going." At her office downtown, the air smells faintly of paper and lemon polish. She looks exactly the same, silver streaks in her dark hair posture, straight as a scale. I set the binder on her desk. She opens it slowly, reading page by page. When she reaches the Venmo screenshots, she whistles under her breath. "You documented everything," she says. "Every dollar, every transfer, every lie. This isn't just family drama, Eleanor. This qualifies under Ohio's Elder Financial Exploitation Statute. The phrase lands heavy. Elder exploitation," I repeat quietly. "Yes," she confirms. "Anyone over 60 targeted for financial gain through deception. It covers digital fraud and misuse of trust. You have enough evidence to trigger both criminal and civil proceedings." She closes the binder gently. "Would you like to file?" I look out the window, watching a line of cars crawl past the courthouse. For a moment, I see Jason at age 10 waving from the bleachers during his baseball game, shouting, "Mom, did you see that I swallow the memory? I don't want revenge," I say. "I want the truth to have a ledger." Amelia nods understanding. "Then we'll start with protection. You can freeze the joint account to prevent further access." She slides a document across the desk, a limited power of attorney. "You retain control, but it authorizes me to act on your behalf with the banks. Once we file, the funds are locked until investigation concludes." My pen doesn't hesitate. The signature flows like water. "Done," I say. "What happens next?" "The bank will flag the account within 24 hours. Jason may notice first." She hesitates, softening her tone. "Are you ready for that conversation?" I nod. He'll have to learn what trust costs. By evening, the motion is filed. Amelia calls to confirm that both accounts' joint savings and credit are officially frozen. The balance remains intact, untouchable. I thank her, hang up, and sit in the silence. Outside, the cicadas scream in the trees, indifferent to human wars. At 8:47 p.m., my phone buzzes. A message from Jason. "Mom, my card just got declined at the gas station. Did something happen to the account?" I stare at the screen before replying. "Yes," I type. Something did. The truth caught up. He doesn't answer. A minute later, the phone rings. His voice is raw. "You froze my account." "Our account," I correct, "until we verify where the money went." "Mom, this is insane. You're making Lacey feel attacked." "Good," I say softly. "Then she knows what that feels like." He sighs, frustrated. "You always think numbers solve everything." "No," I whisper. "They reveal everything." The line goes silent. When he finally speaks, his tone is low, almost pleading. "She's my wife." "And you're my son," I reply. "That's why I'm saving what's left." I hang up before he can answer. The next morning, the sun rises sharp and gold, slicing through the blinds like a verdict. I sit at my kitchen table with my ledger, open pen, poised over a clean page. The title reads, August Reconciliation. Beneath it, I write one sentence, evidence over tears. It feels like both confession and declaration. Later, Amelia calls again. Eleanor, the bank, confirmed the freeze. They've also alerted the Financial Crimes Unit for review. It's officially on record. Good, I say. Thank you. She pauses, her voice gentler. Most people your age would have ignored it until the money was gone. You chose courage. I smile faintly. I chose math. After she hangs up, I pour myself a cup of coffee and watch the steam rise, curling like forgiveness that never quite forms. Somewhere Jason is staring at a declined receipt, wondering how the world flipped overnight. But one day he'll understand that I didn't do this out of anger. I did it out of love, measured carefully, balanced against betrayal. The audit of love is never about punishment. It's about accounting for what the heart can no longer afford to lose. Sunday morning smells like orange juice and deception. The Briggs and Miller families gather at the long oak table in Lacey's parents' sunroom, laughter rippling over the clink of silverware. It is meant to be a celebratory brunch for the expectant mother, a final toast before her maternity leave. The walls shimmer with pastel streamers, the same pink and blue that once hung at the baby shower. I arrive early, polite, and composed my tote bag heavier than it looks. Inside, it rests a small projector, a USB drive labeled simply for family, and a folded copy of the signed bank freeze order. I greet everyone with practiced grace. "Lacey, you look radiant," I say. She beams, cheeks flushed. Trying to stay calm before the big day, she laughs, patting her stomach. Jason stands beside her, hand at her back, tension buried under his smile. Her mother pours champagne, humming along to the soft music. "We're so proud of how far you two have come," she says. Such a blessing. I nod, letting the warmth in the room settle before I cool it. "Blessings come in many forms," I reply. As the plates clear, Lacey brings out a cake, white frosting, gold lettering to new beginnings. I take that as my cue. Before we cut, may I share something? I ask, voice gentle but steady. The room quiets. It's a small slideshow I made for the family album. Just some memories of this journey. Jason hesitates. "Mom, maybe. It'll just take a minute." I interrupt softly. I set up the projector on the console table. The first slide appears on the large TV screen, a family photo from March brunch. Everyone smiling, the ultrasound photo held proudly in Lacey's hands. The second slide zooms in on the image, highlighting the metadata tag at the corner, uploaded 2021. "That's odd," I say mildly. "This clinic closed in 2022, didn't it?" A nervous chuckle floats from someone in the back. Jason's face drains of color. "Mom, what are you doing?" I press the remote again. The next slide displays a bank statement, nursery fund, June 10th, $5,000. Another follows. July 2nd, $3,200. August 4th, $6,700. Each line glows white against the screen. Just a few numbers, I continue my tone, calm as arithmetic, each labeled for the baby that never came. The room goes still, only the ceiling fan hums, slicing the silence into slow pieces. Jason rises halfway from his chair. "It's not true," he shouts. "You're twisting everything." Amelia, seated quietly in the corner, stands and steps forward. "Actually," she says, her voice professional and sharp. "These are certified copies from the bank. I filed the freeze order myself." She holds up a document, the notary stamp shining like a seal of finality. The tension breaks like glass. Lacey's hands tremble as she reaches for her champagne. It slips. The glass hits the tile, shattering into a spray of gold bubbles and shards. She gasps, clutching her dress, backing away as her mother rushes to her. "Lacey," her mother whispers. "What is this? Tell me she's lying." Lacey stares at the screen as another slide appears, her social media post bikini photo captioned, "Finally free." The irony bleeds into the air. Her mother's voice cracks. "You were never pregnant, were you?" The question hangs like smoke. Lacey covers her face, sobbing. Jason stares at her, lost between disbelief and humiliation. His voice breaks. "Lacey, please tell me." But she cannot. Truth has already done the talking. I step forward, closing the laptop. The final slide lingers on the screen, a simple message in white text. Truth reconciles all accounts. I turn to the room, my voice quiet but cutting through the chaos. "Congratulations," I say evenly. "It's a boy named Karma." For a moment, no one breathes. The words settle like dust, heavy and unmovable. Then I unplug the projector, wrap the cord neatly, and place it back in my tote. Behind me, someone starts crying softly. Lacey's father mutters something about disgrace. Jason sinks into his chair, eyes unfocused. I touch his shoulder gently. The truth hurts, I tell him, but it also heals. Eventually. As I walk toward the door, the air feels cooler, lighter, as though the house itself has exhaled. Outside, cicadas hum again, indifferent witnesses to family collapse. I place the USB drive back in my bag and glance once through the window. Inside, there's still frozen a tableau of guilt and shock. I step into the sunlight, adjusting my sunglasses. The world looks sharper now. Justice, I think, has its own kind of light. Would you have gone public too, or kept quiet? The week after the brunch feels like a season compressed into days. Dover Creek hums with quiet scandal, the kind that moves faster than summer wind through laundry lines. By Wednesday morning, the story breaks across every local outlet. My phone buzzes endlessly, notifications stacking like dominoes. The headline on the front page of the Ohio Tribune reads, "Ohio woman fakes pregnancy to scam. Mother-in-law $40,000 fraud uncovered." Below it, a photo from Lacey's social media cropped to show her smiling with the caption, "Blessed beyond measure." The irony tastes bitter. I fold the paper neatly, place it beside my coffee, and stare out the kitchen window at the hydrangeas bending under the heat. The phone rings again. It is Amelia. The district attorney filed charges, she says. Fraud, identity theft, and misuse of a senior's financial account. There will be a hearing in September. Her tone carries both triumph and sympathy. "How are you holding up busy?" I reply. "Justice takes more paperwork than sin ever did." She chuckles softly. "You sound like Tom." After we hang up, I sit at the kitchen table and open my ledger. I add a final entry at the bottom, account closed, lesson earned. I underline it once slowly. Jason hasn't called since that Sunday. I imagine him packing boxes in silence, his pride bleeding in ways he cannot name. Lacey's parents hired an attorney for her defense, but even they avoid my eyes at the market. Dover Creek is small. Shame travels by word of mouth. On Friday, I drive past Jason's old apartment. The blinds are open, the room's half empty. A for-lease sign tilts in the window. I leave a small envelope at the door, inside a check for $500 and a note written in careful script for the first month of rebuilding, not forgiveness. He will know what that means. That afternoon, I stand in the backyard staring at the corner where we had once planned the nursery. Tom built the small deck there years ago, back when Jason was a boy, and believed every project began with faith and a hammer. Now it is just dirt and forgotten tools. I dig a small trench and plant lavender seeds, their scent sharp and medicinal. Martha watches from across the fence. "You're turning that into a garden," she asks. "Something peaceful," I reply. "Lavender grows best in well-drained soil. Maybe it'll remind me that healing needs space too." By evening, the air smells faintly of the promise to begin again. The mailbox fills faster than usual in the days that follow. Some envelopes are from reporters asking for comment, but most are handwritten, the ink looping like old habits. Neighbors, church members, even strangers from neighboring towns. One letter reads, "Thank you for showing us that silence protects liars, not peace." Another says, "My sister lost her savings to her son's wife. You gave her courage to file charges." I read them one by one, stacking them into a tidy pile on my desk. Their gratitude feels heavier than guilt. On the fourth evening, I walk to the porch with a cup of tea and watch twilight settle over the quiet street. Children ride their bikes in the distance. Someone waters their lawn. The world continues slower but surer. The news has already moved on to the next scandal, but in Dover Creek, the story lingers like humidity. Some praise me. Some whisper that I went too far. I don't argue. Truth rarely wins popularity contests. As I sip my tea, I glance at the lavender sprouts, faint green threads pushing through the soil, life returning through the wreckage. Jason finally calls one night, his voice hoarse. "Mom?" He says they took her in today. She'll be out on bond, but it's over. I close my eyes. I'm sorry it came to this, I say, but I'm not sorry it ended. He exhales long and trembling. I quit my job. I can't face anyone right now. Then rest, I tell him. Start with honesty, and the rest will follow. We sit in silence, two people measuring the cost of love when mixed with illusion. Before hanging up, he adds softly, "You were right about numbers. They never lie." I smile faintly. No, but they do teach. When the line clicks off, I return to my ledger. I paste the headline inside next to the bank statements and receipts, not out of pride, but remembrance. Every life lesson needs its documentation. Outside, the night deepens. The lavender sways under the faint breeze, their purple beginning to show under the moonlight. I whisper, "You were supposed to be a nursery. Now you are peace." In the quiet that follows, I feel the weight lift, not gone, but lighter. Justice, it seems, blooms the way lavender does, quietly, persistently in soil that once held disappointment. December arrives quiet and sharp, the kind of cold that makes the house creak like it is remembering too much. Snow covers the porch in a thin, perfect layer. I am reading by the fire when I hear the knock. 3 slow raps, uncertain. When I open the door, Jason stands there, his breath fogging the air, his hands bare and shaking. Behind him, Lacey. She looks smaller than I remember. No makeup, eyes swollen, coat, zipped awkwardly around a real, unmistakable curve beneath her ribs. For a moment, no one speaks. Only the wind moves, pushing flakes through the doorway. Mom, Jason says, voice raw, "Can we come in?" I study them quietly, the way one studies a math problem already knowing the answer. For a moment, I say, stepping aside. The warmth of the fire hits them as they enter, and Lacey flinches slightly like it burns. She clutches her stomach protectively. I notice the way Jason hovers near her, unsure if he's shielding her or seeking forgiveness. I walk to the sideboard, pick up my ledger, and hold it against my chest. "What is it you want?" I ask. Lacey's lips part, but no sound comes. Jason clears his throat. "She's due in February," he says. "We're trying to start over. I found work again, but the medical bills are piling up. We thought maybe he stops when I open the ledger and flip it to the last page. The room fills with the soft crackle of the fire. You thought maybe what I ask, that I would forget the math." Lacey steps forward, her eyes glassy. "Mrs. Briggs," she says quietly, "I came to apologize. I know sorry doesn't fix what I did. I don't even know why I did it. Fear, pride, stupidity, all of it. But I want to make things right." Her voice trembles, but her hands stay steady over her belly. "We have nothing now," she whispers. "Nothing but the truth." I set the ledger down on the table, open to the page where her name fills the column. What date was the ultrasound this time, I ask. The question lands like a weight. She stares at me, confusion flickering into shame. December 4th, she murmurs. Dr. Raymond at Mercy General. The real one. I nod slowly. Keep that record safe. The truth needs proof, especially from people who've traded it once. Jason looks up, tears forming. Mom, please, he says. We're not asking for much. Just a little help with the hospital deposit. I'll pay you back. I walk to my desk, open the drawer, and pull out my checkbook. They watch as I write carefully, the pen scratching against the paper like a verdict being calculated. When I finish, I tear the check free and place it between them. Lacey looks down. Her face crumples. $1, she whispers. I nod. A token, I say. For closure, not support. For acknowledgement, not debt. Forgiveness doesn't erase math. The words hang in the air like frost. Jason lowers his head, his shoulders shaking once, before he steadies himself. You still don't trust us, he says. Trust isn't charity, I reply softly. It's earned through interest over time. For a moment, none of us speak. The fire pops, sending sparks up the chimney. I look at Lacey again. You'll be a mother soon, I tell her. When that child asks what honesty means, tell them it starts with silence broken by truth. Her lips quiver and she nods. I will, she says. I promise. I gesture toward the door, then start keeping promises. They turn to leave their footprints marking the snow as they walk down the porch steps. I watch until they disappear into the gray afternoon. When the wind rushes in behind them, I close the door and return to the fire. The checkbook lies open, its ink drying under the lamplight. I fold it shut, place it atop the ledger, and whisper to the empty room. Mercy is balance, not blindness. The snow thickens outside, blanketing the garden, the lavender still sleeping beneath it. I pour myself a cup of tea and sit by the window, watching the white world erase the footprints, minute by minute. Somewhere out there they are driving toward a hospital, a chance of reckoning. And I am here, ledger closed, account reconciled. Mercy doesn't erase math, but it does round the edges of grief. Spring arrives in Dover Creek with the scent of thawed soil and second chances. The lavender I planted last summer has begun to bloom soft purple, rising through gray stems, stubborn against the late frost. I watch from the porch with my coffee and ledger resting on my lap, though I rarely open it anymore. These days, I spend most mornings downtown at the Elder Integrity Foundation, a small nonprofit tucked beside the library. They teach seniors how to document financial abuse, how to guard their trust with paper and proof. When I first walked through their doors in February, they recognized my name from the newspaper. I remember the volunteer coordinator, a kind man named Bennett, saying, "If anyone understands the cost of silence, it's you." Now I lead a class every Thursday afternoon. I show them how to record withdrawals, how to track digital transfers, how to save screenshots as evidence. I tell them that truth doesn't need anger to be powerful, only accuracy. The women who attend bring notebooks filled with shaky handwriting and stories that could fill courtrooms. One afternoon during a session, a woman named Doris raises her hand. "But what if he's my own son?" she asks. Her voice trembles the way mine once did. I look at her for a long moment and answer, "Then you protect him by protecting yourself." The room stays quiet and I know they understand. Some lessons bloom only after winter. On the wall behind my desk, someone framed a quote I said at a community event in March. "Accountability is the interest truth earns over time." It makes the volunteers smile, but for me, it's less philosophy and more survival. Each report I help someone file feels like another knot untied in my chest. By April, Jason begins sending checks. The first one arrives folded in half his handwriting, messy. Enclosed is $10,000 and a note that reads simply, "For Mom, Installment 1." I sit at my desk for a long while tracing the pen marks with my finger. No excuses, no justifications, just a transaction of redemption. I deposit it the next morning and send him a single text, "Thank you." That evening, he calls. His voice is steadier now. "I'm working construction in Cincinnati," he says. The hours are long, but it's honest. Lacey's staying with her mother until the baby comes. She wants to send you photos when he's born. I pause, then ask, "Are you ready for that?" He laughs softly. "I think so." The counselor says I'm learning how to rebuild one truth at a time. I smile faintly. That's a good place to start. We speak for nearly an hour, not about the past, but about the things people talk about when guilt has loosened its grip. He tells me about his new crew, about a man who brings homemade chili to lunch every Friday, about the way work quiets his mind. When he hangs up, I feel the first real peace in months. Not forgiveness exactly, but equilibrium. May arrives with rain that smells like metal and memory. I spend afternoons in the community garden behind the foundation helping Bennett install raised beds. The older volunteers tease me about my precision with the measuring tape. "Once an accountant, always an accountant," they say, and I laugh because it's true. Precision was always my form of prayer. One Saturday, as the storm clouds gather, I return home and sit on the porch with my ledger. The lavender sways gently in the wind, drops of rain glinting on their petals. I open the ledger to the first page and read through every entry, each date, each loss, each act of courage written like scripture. When I reach the last line, I add one more sentence beneath it in blue ink. Final reconciliation, completed peace, earned in full. Then I close it, smooth the cover, and carry it inside. I open the fireproof safe for the last time and place it inside with the other binders, locking them away not as evidence but as history. When I return to the porch, the rain has started steady and cleansing. I pull a shawl around my shoulders and breathe in the scent of wet earth and lavender. Across the street, Martha waves from her porch, holding a cup of tea. I lift mine in return. The world feels balanced, not perfect, but measured. The kind of balance that comes not from revenge, but from record-keeping of the soul. I think of all the women who wrote to me after the story, broke the ones who said, "I wish I had your courage." They never understood that courage isn't loud. It's a quiet ledger, kept beneath years of fear, waiting for the right entry to close the account. As thunder rolls in the distance, I whisper my final audit aloud. Karma doesn't punish, I say. It reconciles. The lavender bends under the rain, the soil darkens, and somewhere in the distance, a child's cry carries through the wind. Maybe Jason's son born into a world cleaner than the one that came before. I sit there until dusk, letting the rain soak through the edges of my shawl, the warmth of peace settling deeper than any fire could give. If you believe karma balances the book, subscribe and share this story.